Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. Last week, we saw a driver by the name of Kenny Kidman notch his first win of the season at Lanier in his first part-time campaign. This week, he has exchanged his steering wheel for a microphone. Hello, everyone. I am Kenny Kidman. Joining me tonight is John Hine, and controlling the cameras is Trevor Greenfield. John, we're at Martinsville Speedway, which is one of the most iconic short tracks in the country and presents some unique challenges based on its shape and its history. What can you tell everybody about the track conditions and the track itself?
Well, we affectionately, everybody who knows Martinsville, which is almost anybody that likes racing, especially short track racing, we know that we refer to this place as the paperclip, and that's because it's shaped just like a paperclip. We're going to have long straightaways, heavy braking to get into these corners, flat banking, narrow corners, so you're going to have a braking zone at the end of each straightaway. That's a good chance to make a pass, but that's also a really good chance to get yourself into trouble. You brake too late, you're going to wash up and probably take somebody out. You brake too early, you might get run over from behind. So it will be fun to watch these guys navigate this track here tonight. I can't wait to see everything get going here, and I think we're going to have a heck of a battle on our hands.
I think we will in this race and in the championship in general as we're getting down to the end of the season here in the summer months, and as we can bring up the point standings, we'll take a look at the really tight battle that we have here in the Bootleg Racing League between multiple drivers, as J.R. Shepard there tied with Justin Morton at 305 points apiece. Austin Belkey shortly behind them, and then Donnie Moore in fourth, and Michael Goodman having a good season there in fifth. And J.R. Shepard already has picked up a win tonight at Martinsville, and he's just so good here with how smooth he is. He's top of the board right now in practice, and but John, there's nothing between the top two guys in the points as we just have a couple races to go.
Yeah, and that's going to create a real pressure cooker. I mean, you don't want to make any mistakes. This is a track that's really easy to make a mistake. So these guys are going to have to be at the top of their game. But I know both of these drivers, I know both of them are fully capable of answering the bell tonight. It's going to be neat to watch these guys duke it out. And one of the things that they're going to have to do, too, not only not make mistakes, but they got to make sure that nobody around them makes a mistake. It's pretty easy to get caught up with somebody else's mess here. So a lot of things on the line here tonight, Kenny.
Yeah, and restarts are what I'm going to be watching because that's really the time when you're most likely to have a caution. And like you said, stack-ups can be created with the heavy braking here and can cause problems and get you caught up into messes that you don't really belong in. But before we take a look at some practice times, I want to take a quick moment to thank the series sponsor, Gargamel's Kitchen. Gargamel's Kitchen is a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League. Visit their office at 2045 South Valencia Street, or give them a call at 720-707-6178. As we take a look at some of the practice times on the board, J.R. Shepard right now is number one at 18.871. Right behind him, though, Michael Goodman at 18.881, and they're the only two drivers who have popped into the 18.8s, and Michael's a driver that's really been improving over his time in the Bootleg Racing League, and when he has track position, he really does take advantage of it, and I think that this is a track that he'll take more of a liking to as compared to a place like Oxford Plains where we were a few weeks ago.
Oh, absolutely. He has really come on here, especially with the last 3 or 4 weeks. Had several good runs here, knocking on the door here to really start becoming a contender throughout the whole season. I think a little late here in this one, but I expect him next season. He's going to be one of the guys to watch for sure.
Another driver there, third place in the standings, or practice standings anyway, is Donnie Moore. And Donnie, one of the longest tenured drivers in the Bootleg Racing League, and this track being on the iRacing service for so long, has been on the Bootleg Racing League schedule for as long as it can be. So Donnie's ran so many laps here. He's going to be good here. And Brian Dean, fourth place right now. He actually won the Tour Mod race earlier this evening, so that will play into his hands. I know this is one of his favorite tracks, and he'll most likely have a decent run tonight as well.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, the thing is, again, you know, we got to just go back to your starts and everything else. Everybody is capable. A lot of guys are here capable of having a good run. You just got to be careful on these starts and restarts and through the course of the night here.
I think one challenge that might come into play too is the way that I've kind of worded it in these super late models is it's kind of a race to halfway, because the way these setups are, they're very tight in the front end. You really lose a lot of that front end bite halfway or beyond through the race. So if you're caught in traffic beyond halfway, it just gets harder and harder to make those passes. So track position is going to be key. Sometimes passing can be pretty difficult, because even if somebody gets moved to the upper lane, they can actually defend pretty decently out there. So we'll have to see. But we have about 15 seconds left in this practice, and then we will get the grid going here. Relatively short field, John, so it looks like even if you were planning on starting in the back this week, it won't be a terrible starting spot.
No, but you know what? How you treat these tires this first 20 laps, everybody's going to have to really pay attention to that, because like you said, you push that right front off, that second half of that race becomes a nightmare here.
That it does. Pretty clear conditions and cool conditions, 71-degree track temp, so that may help tire wear just a bit. But as we take a look at the starting lineup here, we got Kurt Smith on the pole, and he's another driver that could contend for the win tonight. Starting next to him is Austin Belke. Donnie Moore will start third place this evening. Next to him will be Joe Segala. Fifth place will be J.R. Shepard, and next to him is Justin Morton. Seventh place tonight is Brian Dean. Next to him will be Michael Goodman. Ninth place will be Joseph Snyder. Running out the top 10 is Kevin Moody. 11th place will be Bruce Pearson, and 12th will be Todd Liston. And the final row tonight will belong to Adam Shane and Ruben Altus. So, yeah, you know, a few drivers not showing up tonight, so a few of the drivers in the top 8 invert have been kind of moved up the field. That's going to make it a little bit easier of a job for drivers like J.R. Shepard, Justin Morton, who've made up a couple spots, and J.R. Shepard even, he'll be in an odd-numbered spot, and we know how important that can be starting on the bottom lane at these short tracks.
Oh yeah, the bottom is where we saw this actually almost happen a couple weeks ago at Oxford. When you're on that bottom, that's a huge advantage on these starts. That outside lane is probably viable a lap, maybe 2, maybe 3, but after that, you better find your way to the bottom.
Yeah, I totally agree with that statement. You can fight on the top line. Sometimes the bottom line will even check up and really get congested down there in the start. But anyways, we are about ready to get this one going. We have actually one pace lap left to go. Yeah, this is championship implications for some of these drivers. I know it was going to be interesting to see like Austin Belke, for example, on that front row. He might actually be aggressive and try to steal this lead away from Kurt right from the beginning. But if it doesn't work out for the first couple laps, he's going to be really defensive and trying to get down to the bottom. But we know how aggressive Donnie Moore is right behind him. He's going to try to fill that space as much as he can. But here we go. Pace car goes down pit lane. Kurt Smith, number 6 car, will lead the field to green. You can start the field anywhere after or in turn 4, and there we go. We are green flag here at Martinsville.
Oh, we got a wreck on the front stretch.
Oh, big time wreck.
Oh, and one of our points guys, Justin Morton, I think got a piece of that too.
Boy, that one actually caught me off guard. And you talked about it, John. Just the checkups and things like that can happen, and things happen really quickly. Yeah,
it looked like the 81 of Joe Segala may have spun his tires a bit, and that checked everybody up behind him. And of course, on the start, when you're before the start-finish line, when everybody's supposed to be accelerating, if somebody doesn't do that, bad things happen, and that's basically what happened there.
Oh, you know what? That, to me, almost looks like either a hardware failure or a missed shift. Because you notice how his car kind of really like slows down as everybody else accelerates. Normally, if it's wheel spin, you'll see a kart driver just kind of get a little squirrely.
Yeah.
You notice
his back end comes up a bit.
Yeah.
That may be, I think you might have called that. I think that could probably be a missed shift or something. Maybe, almost, funny thing is, it looked like instead of shifting up when you go, it looked like he downshifted is actually what that looked like.
Yeah, it like his wheels almost like stopped. It was, he was stopped for a good amount of time. So that's unfortunate for those guys. And also, you see there Brian Dean with heavy damage. He'll have to go into the pits along with a few other drivers. Adam Shane down there as well. Joe Segala is down there too. So rough start for those couple drivers. And and we'll have to restack them up here and basically have a brand new start. We really haven't had an opportunity to get any racing quite yet.
I'm wondering if Justin Morton's a lap down. He is parked on the backstretch there, lets the pace car go by. They're going to line him up right behind the pace car. He'll end up getting a wave around.
You'll have to take a look and see what exactly happened to him during that wreck. He did get some contact from Michael Goodman in behind, and he kind of got spun, and then he got straightened back out, and then was able to continue on from that point. Here's actually a look of a replay with Justin Morton here. You see he's right behind Joe Segala, who's the catalyst for this caution. Little checkup, gets sideways, and then the same car that hit him actually straightened him back out again. He was able to continue. So, yeah, we'll have to see where he lines up, but it looks like he may end up being towards the tail end of the lead lap, if at best.
Yeah, and iRacing does weird things to the lineups. If there's a wreck before the start-finish line on a green flag, sometimes it puts the field a lap behind everything else. Half this field is getting waved around the pace car, so I think that probably caused a bit of a snafu with the scoring too.
Yeah, and it's looking like Joe Segala right now, he's scored a lap down, but he's actually 5th in line in the pacing order. So that, and Adam Shane's right behind him. So that's a little bit messed up. Brian Dean is stuck in the pit lane at the moment, so he is now 2 laps down. And then a few drivers, as you said, John, got waved around the pace car. So a little bit of a snafu here with the scoring, and that kind of happens when you have a start and not all drivers get across this finish line, and then a caution comes out. iRacing kind of gets confused, but regardless, the pace car leaves the racing surface, and Kurt Smith will be back in control of the field here. A few drivers might be out of place in the line, but hopefully we can get some green flag laps and get this one sorted. Kurt Smith with a really good jump, and he is cleared by 3 car lengths as he dives down to turn 1. And Donnie Moore will be side by side with Austin Belkey here, and Austin will try to get down into 3rd place here.
Yeah, and that little bit of a disconjointed start, though, really kind of, I think, helped the drivers. It has enabled them to kind of filter down and get into turn 1 a little more cleanly rather than be a double foul all the way back.
And it is still scoring Joe Segala and Adam Shane as 1 lap down, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, because that will be the battle for the potential free pass, as they are nose to tail right now, right behind Justin Morton, who are we looking at, who's in 5th place. So Justin ends up getting his track position back, so that's good to see, him being one of the title contenders. And you see the title contenders there nose to tail, they're 1 point apart, and you know that that 1 point is in Justin's mind, because that is the point difference right now if they were to finish.
Oh yeah, you know, the big thing is, and you've done this too, Kenny, when you run for points enough that, you know, when you see your closest competitor, that's a nice, in a way, it's almost a relief, you know, okay, we're here together. You know, what you don't want to see is that your competitor 4 or 5 cars ahead of you. You know, that can be a little worrisome throughout the night.
Definitely can be, and it can definitely dwell on you, especially get late in the season like this. But the one good thing is that, you know, Justin is in an odd numbered position, so if we do have a restart, he could potentially start on the inside and maybe gain a position on JR. We see a side-by-side battle, not for position. That's Adam Shane giving up a spot there to Michael Goodman, who's in 6th, and he's quite a distance behind the top 5. Actually, a potential side-by-side battle for 3rd, as we have JR Shepard going to the inside of Austin Belkey. He will make that pass pretty quickly, and also Donnie Moore right on the tail of Kurt Smith as we complete lap 12.
Yeah, JR made a nice simple pass there on the 24 there of Austin Belkey, and you kind of expect that. Those 2 are teammates, so you kind of think that they're not going to race each other too hard here early on. But you know, Justin, like I said, the thing about having that other guy in front of you, you see him, and now there is JR in the 2nd. Austin's gonna try to squeeze through there to go into 3rd, but when you see that guy make the moves, sometimes then you start to get impatient and need to get up there, and that can get yourself in trouble. So Justin's going to have to remain patient here and realize there's a long way to go and not try to do anything too rash here. Ooh, boy.
Oh, Donnie's around. Yeah, I was watching that while you were talking, John, and both of those drivers were being really aggressive at, one being aggressive at trying to stick their nose in to make that pass, and the other trying to be aggressive at retaining his track position, because Donnie knew that if he was going to lose one spot to JR, he was potentially going to lose up to 3 spots as we take a look at the replay. And really, this kind of started a few laps ago as they got side by side. Austin didn't get a great run off of the previous turn, so he tried to stay there. Donnie may have been cleared for just a second or two, came back down, and Austin decided to stick his nose back down in there. Luckily, not much damage on the back on Donnie Moore's car, but he has lost all of his track position.
Yeah, Donnie was being aggressive there to kind of hold that space, which is his right. He has the right to do that. 15 laps in, both those guys got to realize it's a long way to the end here. Maybe that's where a little bit of give and take would have helped both drivers here. Because Austin probably shouldn't have stuck his nose in there that early, but nonetheless he did, and then Donnie got the short end of that, and now Austin's there in third.
Yeah, and I think Donnie probably did hear clear from his spotter, because you saw on camera he was clear for a couple seconds, so he immediately took that space, and then I suppose he could have taken the bottom lane away just a little bit more, like he left just a little bit of a gap, and that allowed Austin to get back down in there. And that's the tough thing about Martinsville, is that a driver gets a run on you, sticks their nose down in there. It's kind of almost a game of chicken. How deep on the brakes are both of you going to go, and sometimes that's when contact can happen.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I was saying earlier, you brake a little bit too late and you can get run over from behind, but you brake too late, you can hit the guy in front of you. You brake too early, you could get run over from behind. And that is a game that you play all night here, especially if you're in a pack and around people. And Austin had the 9 car, somewhat behind him there, knows he's coming. So, that sense of urgency, kind of goes up when you're getting pressure from behind.
Yeah, and at the same time, too, Austin's wanting to get in behind J.R. Shepherd and see if he can follow him, because he's probably pretty confident that J.R. is going to make a challenge on Kurt Smith pretty soon. And if he can follow him through for that position as well, then that's another easy spot gain. We've all done it where we'll get in behind one of the faster drivers and just kind of ride behind them and let them make all the positions up, and then we just follow them through. It's kind of just the way that things happen sometimes, depending on where you start in the order. So if you don't have to initiate that many passes, that's job well done, because the easy way to get.
I've even done that, being a lap down, let the leaders pass me, but if I'm battling somebody else, as soon as those leaders get by me, I dive down and try to follow those leaders right around the guys I'm battling. So yeah, it's a tactic, and it's one that's all fair.
Exactly. So we'll double up here, and we'll just eclipse lap 20 of this 100 lap event. Kurt Smith has led them all so far, and he's got on the outside of him, though, he's got J.R. Shepherd this time, and J.R. is somebody who could make that outside work for a couple laps. And Justin Morton, his championship rival, right behind him there in row 2, starting 4th. And 5th and 6th there is Michael Goodman and Bruce Pearson up to 6th place. So here we go. Kurt Smith has launched a very good launch yet again. And it looks like they'll single file out very quickly down to turn 1. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Not a whole lot of double file action right away.
Big wreck at the beginning probably gets everybody to calm down a little bit, so get some laps in.
Here we go. J.R. Shepherd already trying to challenge Kurt Smith for that lead, and J.R. is so good here at Martinsville because he knows how to get good drive off the corners, and he's not doing that quite yet because he wants to get up right to the back bumper of Kurt Smith right first. So he's going to ride the optimal line, but as soon as you see him get right up to Kurt's bumper, you'll see him do this. He'll go up a lane on entry, cut down on exit for a nice long straight exit to give him that nice drive. So he's starting to experiment with that now.
Yeah, all he's doing right now is getting his timing down, so he knows where exactly he can get that run to do exactly what you're saying. He's back there, he's rolling in and figuring out, okay, where can I keep rolling and turn down at the same time to get that run.
These two drivers are pulling ahead of Austin Belke in third, who's got a little bit of a gap back there to Justin Morton. You see them all in the background, the train of cars. Michael Goodman is rounding out the top 5 at the moment. Todd Liston is already up 6 spots. He's 12th to 6th, and up 7 spots right behind him is Ruben Altus. So 2 good drives for them drivers who have, as we have a possible battle for the lead. JR sticks his nose down in there. Kurt sort of shuts the door, and looks like JR backed out of the move at last moment to avoid contact.
Yeah, that actually helped Kurt get a pretty good run off in turn 4 there. But yeah, JR already just taken one shot at it. We'll see if he can gather back up, pull back up, and I'm sure he'll take another one here before too long.
Here's a look at a few of the drivers further down in the order. We talked about Ruben Altus, who's into the top 8 invert for next week at the moment. He'd be starting second if everybody shows up next week at Langley. So good run for him so far. There's Donnie Moore that was recovering from his spin early on in 8th. And then a little bit battle behind these drivers, Bruce Pearson, Joe Snyder. Snyder going for the spot on the 22 machine. That's a battle for 9th. Right behind them is Adam Shane, who he actually got the free pass last caution. So he is back on the lead lap and fighting for a top 10 spot. See there, he is able to make the pass, and Kevin Moody is the final driver on the lead lap. Joe Segala 1 lap down. Brian Dean has disconnected. He is out of the race in 14th spot. Now there's a look at Kevin Moody, and there's a look at a battle for the lead as we're approaching lap 30 here. Kurt's not running away from with this, and JR is really putting the pressure on, and I'm sure he wants to get this move done as quickly as possible because, you know, like I said earlier, the tire wear becomes an issue, but also JR doesn't want to deal with more restarts on that high line if he can avoid it.
Yeah, plus if you're out front there, you can choose your line, you can brake where you want to brake, you can get into the gas where you want to, and all that is, it makes it a lot easier on your tires. He's going to have to use those tires to actually make the pass, so the sooner he gets that done, the better, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, you know, JR just wants to have control of this race, you know, control the jump of the restart and all that. So, but Kurt's doing a really good job right now, showing some good speed, and Austin Belkey is about a second behind J.R. Shepard, and he's leading an absolute train of cars, as you can see in the background there, with Justin Morton, Michael Goodman, Todd Liston, Ruben Altus, all in that fight. And John, it looks like it's a little more of a green flag looking race after we had a little bit of trouble early on.
Yeah, these guys have settled in. They're clicking laps off right now, and you watch though. It won't be long before guys, like you said, it's a race to halfway, and then the real race begins. So I expect things to pick up here shortly once we get past that halfway point.
You see there, right on the back bumper is J.R. Shepard there. You're looking from the rear end of Kurt Smith here, and J.R. is just really trying to time his runs, trying to get a good drive off. And you know, like you said, John, the later that we go into this race, the more desperate some drivers may become. And also, Kurt's leaving a little bit of a gap through the middle of the corner, and at some point, JR may try to kind of a surprise tactic and stick his nose down in there and fill that space. So that's one thing you have to be conscious of as the defending driver. You can run a preferred lane all you want, but if you leave space in certain areas of the racetrack, sometimes drivers will take it.
Yeah, he's washing up a little bit in the center of the corner, but I don't know that he's washing up enough to get that nose. But right there where he comes out of the corner, he does not have that bottom sealed down, should I say. That's where JR is going to get his nose in there. It's going to be a corner exit.
One habit I try to build as a driver is to, you know, try my best to just look out the front, not really look in the mirror a whole lot, and to just, you know, focus on your line and driving as fast as possible, because once you start driving defensively and altering your line based on the car behind you, it can actually slow you down and make it a little bit easier for them to start a pass. So Kurt's doing a great job running nice consistent lap times. You take a look there on your screen, some of the ups and downs as far as position deltas for the drivers tonight. J.R. Shepard up 3 spots, Todd Liston up 6 spots, Ruben Altus up 7 spots, and Donnie Moore, he has at least recovered up to 8 spots. So if we were to finish this way, he would start on the pole next week at Langley, as this league inverts the top 8 every single week.
Yeah, and a little earlier you mentioned about looking out the front window there and hitting your marks and all that. You know, when you do, you're absolutely right. If you start looking in your mirror, it slows you down. But the other thing that does though, if you concentrate on hitting your marks and being consistent about it, what that does to the guy behind you, it allows them to kind of anticipate where you're going and allows them to try to figure a way around you without putting you or them in a bad position. Most drivers should look at that and say, okay, you know, this is where he's running, this is where he's running every lap, this is what I need to do to get by. But when you're all over the place trying to defend and pinching down, that's when somebody says, okay, at some point here, I'm going to put my nose in here and I'm not going to lift, putting them and you in a bad spot. So looking out your mirror can have just even more of an effect than just trying to go faster.
Yeah, that's for certain. It's all about kind of being predictable, I guess, predictable and consistent. But you're taking a look here, riding on the roof of Justin Morton. He's trying to figure a way around Austin Belkey. Now, there's a little bit of a danger here with Austin Belkey's position because it looks like he's not really catching these leaders. If Justin Morton is able to get to the inside of Belkey, there's a potential for Belkey to get maybe freight trained by 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 drivers, depending on how close-knit they are, because there is a little bit of a train in behind these guys.
Yeah, and not to mention, his teammates in front of him here, so, he's not going to open that door and let somebody go after. I mean, and that's all fair. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So he's going to hold on to that, for not only because he doesn't want to get freight trained, but he is just fine with having his teammate out his front window.
Yeah, and also I don't think he minds potentially being able to restart in third if we were to have a restart. So I think he maybe has run a few laps at full bore, kind of figuring out what his pace is, and is just going to kind of run his optimal lap. One note as well is if we can take a look back up towards the leaders as they've gotten pretty close to each other once again, they are catching a couple lap cars, notably Kevin Moody and Joe Segala. They're a little ways up the road, but it's just something to note as we're getting closer and closer to halfway. There's a look at Kevin Moody there, struggling a little bit there, getting into turn 3. He is the final car on the lead lap, which is going to hurt Joe Segala in that 81 machine if Kevin Moody were to be lapped, because that would take him out of the potential free pass spot. So that's something that can be coveted, but I don't know. I really unless somebody gets desperate, I don't really see that many more cautions in the future, but I have been wrong before, and we're just now getting towards halfway, so lots of racing to go.
Yeah, well, when you get to the second half of the race, you know that if we get one caution, that could snowball quite quickly. But yeah, I think you're right. I think this has got a look of a long green flag run here, maybe even to the end, because these guys all are very, very good. And Austin has a little slip up there going to 3, but these guys are all really smart and don't really do a lot of crazy stuff. So going to the end of the green isn't a crazy idea.
Here you go, pass for the lead. J.R. Shepard able to get it done on Kurt Smith. Took him some time, but he kept his cool and basically just stuck his nose down in there, and Kurt gave him the lane. J.R. had enough of a run to get up beside him down the straightaway and made that pass happen. It'll be interesting to see now from here how well Kurt will be able to keep up. I think JR has plenty of pace to pull away. I'm more curious to see, will Kurt be able to hold on to second, or will Austin Belkey and friends catch up and challenge the 6 car for that silver medal position? You see riding on board Kurt Smith right now, and at the moment staying tailed behind JR. And you know what, to an extent, this is actually going to help Kurt a little bit, just having that rabbit in front of him, seeing what JR is doing, trying to mimic that, and actually giving yourself a reference to brake to in the entry to the corner can sometimes help your lap time a little bit.
Yeah, and who else this affects too is that number 9 sitting there in 4th. Now, is he going to ratchet up the pressure on the 24 because he just saw his rival take the race lead? He's got a little more pressure to him to get around that 24 now. Justin Morton, to get around that 24 car and start making his way up there, trying to at least get to second.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's got to see these points kind of slipping away here. With only 2 rounds left in the championship after this weekend, it's going to be tough to gain any of those points back. As we still look up here towards the front, you see there Kevin Moody is now into the camera shot as these drivers will get past him. Usually the lap traffic in the Bootleg Racing League is pretty calm and courteous. So we'll see when that 80 machine lets the leaders by. Looks like he's already washing up the track. We'll probably let these guys by into turn 1. And looks like he will do so. He goes way up into the fence, actually, goes Kevin Moody. He will let the leaders by. He's going to have some right front damage, and looks like he will stay out on the track. And Austin Belke and Justin Morton will go and lap by the 80 car as well, with Michael Goodman not far behind. Michael doing a good job still staying on the tail of a potential podium here.
Yeah, he's doing a really nice job back there. But I tell you, in the number 9, we talked about a championship contender here, Justin Morton. He really hasn't put any more pressure on the 24 of Austin Belke since JR took the lead. I think Austin just got pace enough to stay out front there and then really not fall back into the clutches of that 9 car.
You know, I did see early on that it looked like Austin was kind of backing up the entry. I could be wrong, but it looked like he was going in a little bit calmer on corner entry than Justin was. Maybe saving the front tires a little bit by doing that, not charging the entry so hard. And also there is an aerodynamic effect on these super late models. The longer that you spend behind somebody, sure, yes, it does help you having a reference in front of you, but the longer that you ride behind somebody, the more aero wash you're probably going to feel with these tight setups. So it could be an issue there that Justin's starting to develop. In other news, though, Donnie Moore has actually made up another spot. He's up to 7th place now. And Joseph Snyder's actually up to 8th. Ruben Altis, who was in that spot, has dropped down to 10th, so a few spots gained there. Donnie Moore in a decent position. This is actually a replay of that spot or of that pass, and a little bit argy-bargy there, but that's just classic short track racing. And there's a classic case there of, actually it looked like, I thought he was going to, oh, there he goes. Joseph Snyder is going to eventually get around Ruben there. So, yeah, you would try your best to only lose 1 spot, but you end up losing 2. Also note Joe Segala has disconnected, so I'm wondering if he just disconnected because he went a few laps down, or if he's had a hardware failure or something of that nature. But we usually see Joe finish all of these races, but hope to see him at least next week. He is down in 13th spot. But we're taking a look again at the leaders. J.R. Shepard has built up a little bit of a gap. It's about 3 to 4 tenths of a second over Kurt Smith, but Kurt doing a really good job staying with JR at the moment here, as we have a little over 35 laps left to play.
Yeah, getting down towards the end of it, I would have to say if Morton is going to make a move on Belke, it's got to come soon. But you know, call me crazy, Kenny, but 3rd and 4th, ever so slightly, I think have closed the gap between 1 and 2 a little bit.
You know, I was just starting to take a look at some of the lap times of the leaders, and as you see, Ruben Altis is into the pits, and he is towed away, so he might end up disconnecting. Yeah, you know, I was just starting to take a look at some of the recent lap times. J.R. Shepard is running in the 19.6s. We have a caution on the Speedway, but he's running 19.6s, and Austin Belke running low 19.6s, so he's definitely running comparable times at the moment, and he'll have a chance to catch up as, you see Joseph Snyder there take a wild ride down the backstretch.
Yeah, he sure did. I think he looks like he gassed it up, and that nose shoved right off and climbs the wall and then hits the inside wall and did a number on the suspension of that 39 ride.
Yeah, and that's kind of an odd thing I've noticed in these super late models. They actually sometimes like to climb the walls, almost like what you would think a tour modified would do, and yeah, climbs the wall, loses control, and stuffs it into the inside fence. Also, yeah, Ruben Altis has disconnected from the server, so he is now out. So maximum 11 cars out in the field at the moment. Joe Snyder has pulled it into the pits. He will go at least 1 lap down here in 10th spot, so only 9 cars left on the lead lap.
Yeah, and I'll tell you though, this caution just really made things interesting up front. Kurt Smith's going to be to the outside, and he's going to be followed by the 9 there of Justin Morton. But to the inside, you're going to have different Path Motorsports teammates. It's going to be JR there on the pole, and then Austin Belke there in that 24 car sitting there third. So I would say Austin even has a shot here maybe to get himself into second if he can get a really good start and stay on JR's bumper.
Yeah, definitely. And like you were talking about, John, with the lap times that Austin and Justin started to run, they were running really competitive times towards the end of that there. So they might have a little something something for these leaders here at the end of this thing. Now, it could be a possible strategy of J.R. Shepard that he's possibly just running kind of as fast as he needs to just to keep the 6 car behind him at that time, just so he can save up some rubber for a potential case like what we're seeing right here, where you have a late race caution and you need a little bit of rubber left on your tires in order to play a little offense or defense if you need to. So, but we'll have to take a look at some of the lap times as we get going here in a few laps and see if it's still true that the 24, the 9, and potentially the 28 car, Michael Goodman, might actually have something here for these leaders.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, looking at that 28 machine. He could pick a spot up or two here if the three that inside line goes. Those 3 guys really stand to benefit here.
Yeah, definitely. We have another pace lap coming up on this one. Joe Snyder has gone a 2nd lap down, and he's still in the pits, so we'll have to see if he ends up coming back out on the racetrack. Kevin Moody is in and out of the pits. He is actually back out on the lead lap, so we will have 10 cars on the lead lap at this point. And right now, Donnie Moore, actually, I think Bruce Pearson is going to be in that pole position. It's either going to be him or it's going to be Adam Shane. I think it's actually Adam Shane in that pole position for next week at the moment, and that's always a pretty coveted position, especially when we're going to Langley Speedway next week, which is very hard to pass at.
Well, I was thinking I'd come run these next week until you said that.
Yeah, I myself may have come and play next week, but not sure with it being Langley. We'll have to see. But anyway, we're on lap 71 here. J.R. Shepard will have his first restart as the leader. Kurt Smith to his outside here. Come around turn 3 and 4. The leader can restart anytime in turn 4. There he goes. Really good jump for the 98 car. Kurt Smith trying to fill that space in second. Austin's making a move for it. Kurt Smith able to get down at the moment. Leaves a little bit of space for Austin, but he's able to keep the 24 at bay and gets a really good run off of turn 2. You see some aggressive moves going in the middle of the pack there. Donnie Moore trying to make up some ground. He's got Todd Liston to his outside. Michael Goodman up ahead of them. Who's kind of the cork in the bottle for Donnie right now, who's trying to make that pass.
Yeah, that last time off of turn 2 there, not this one, but the one before that, where you saw that great run from the 6th. Austin got up on the curve there, and it really killed his off-corner speed. We haven't really talked about those curves, but you look at that red and white line down there on the bottom of that track, that's just not paint on the bottom of the track. That is a curve. You get on top of that, you're in trouble, and that car will not do what you want it to do.
Yeah, at some tracks, curbs can actually help the car turn, but this place, it's too dangerous. It really can upset the vehicle, and you try to just basically stay off of that at all costs if possible. So looks like everybody's able to single file out. You see in the background there, Todd Liston actually getting a little bit loose there as he's battling with Bruce Pearson at the moment. That is for 9th and 8th position, so Todd Liston is in the potential pole position for next week. And he's trying to pull away from Bruce Pearson. A little bit of a gap up ahead to Adam Shane in 7th, and Donnie Moore now in 6th. Michael Goodman is settled into 5th. And again, the top 4 still the same after that restart. You have Justin Morton 4th, Austin Belke 3rd, Kurt Smith in 2nd, and J.R. Shepard is at the point. A little over 20 laps to go in this one, John. I mean, the field's pretty spread out, and we've gotten past this restart. You know, if you're somebody who is trying to make up some spots there, do you think your chance has come and gone?
You know, I don't know. I think you know, your opportunity to pass is the best at a start, and we've got a couple laps in here. But you know, we saw Austin and Justin running those leaders down after a few laps, so maybe after they get some heat back up into their tires, maybe they can start chipping away at it. They're closer now than what they were before the caution, so we'll have to wait and see how these last 20 or so laps line up here.
That is a good point, actually. You know, tire temperature is definitely a thing. The grip level will change throughout the run, and once you get a caution, it kind of resets, and you actually have a little more grip than what you're used to for a couple corners, and then it'll kind of start fading away again. But the other thing is a rhythm. You know, I guarantee that Justin and Austin are definitely rhythm race car drivers, and they want to be able to just run lap after lap if they can. And you know, the restart is full of chaos, but once you settle in, get single filed out, you can focus ahead on your next target and get after it. So Austin and Justin trying their best to be as consistent as possible and trying to run down Kurt Smith. But I can't say enough about how good Kurt Smith has been tonight. Running in that second spot, he held the lead for a long time, and he's maintained in second place.
Absolutely, JR hasn't run away from him at all here. And boy, I tell you though, Austin is starting to kind of, I think, creep back up in there though.
Yeah, I'll take a look at some of the recent lap times. Looks like Austin's been running in the 19.4s and 5s, was an occasional 19.3. And yeah, the last 3 laps were 19.4s and 5s for Kurt Smith. So they're equal at least, if not better, for Austin Wilkie here. But time's winding down. And I do wonder, you know, if Kurt Smith kind of backs up to Austin Belke here, will that maybe force JR's hand into maybe pushing a little harder to see if he can run away and prevent a last-second charge from the drivers in 3rd to 4th to at least prevent them from getting up to him?
Yeah, JR is so smart at conserving his stuff and having, you know, making it last 100 laps. Because you're a bootleg, you know, you don't get to change tires or anything like that. Your car's got to last you the 100 laps, and there is nobody better in this league at maintaining their equipment than JR is.
Yeah, JR knows, you know, exactly how much to push the issue and does exactly that, and no more, no less. You know, which actually, me personally, kind of differs from my style. I actually try to pick kind of an optimal lap that just feels really good, and I just will try to run that all the time, no matter what position I'm in. So it may look like I'm pushing the issue, but it's what feels comfortable. Sometimes, John, and you know this too, sometimes you may try to take off a little bit of speed, and it might actually make you screw up and wear your tires out even more, just because it kind of messes with the marks you're trying to hit.
Yeah, if you try to speed up or slow down, all of a sudden, you know, your braking points change, where you're getting on the throttle changes. So yeah, it can mess your whole lap up. You've just got to try to, like you said, a rhythm driver, and that's me. I just want to get into rhythm, start braking where I brake, getting the gas where I'm going, and not try to push things too far, but just try to maintain a good pace. And once you get out of that, guys can get themselves in trouble really fast.
For certain. And you know, I'd like to take a look back at Donnie Moore. He's up to 6th place now. A good recovery for him. I know it's going to be kind of a frustrating result for him, knowing that he probably wants a lot more out of this, but a good recovery considering you know, he went all the way to the back and got spun, and potentially could maybe even run down Michael Goodman here for a top 5, but nonetheless, I think he should be at least content with the way that he's bounced back tonight.
Absolutely. When you make that much ground up on a track that's not exactly easy to pass on, yeah, it's not the result that Donnie was looking for, but you got to take some solace in that, hey, that was a good recovery there, and we minimized the damage for the night.
Looks like J.R. Shepherd has pulled a little bit of a gap on Kurt Smith. He's about 2 to 3 car lengths ahead, and it looks like the last few laps, Kurt Smith's actually extended the gap between him and Austin Belke by just a hair over the last few laps, as we're under 10 to go now. And looks like Justin Morton really starting to apply the pressure on Austin Belke, seeing if he can gain just 1 point that could apply against the title battle between him, J.R. Shepherd, and remember, Austin Belke is up in the title mix as well. So they're all in this fight, trying to get every last point that they can.
Yeah, you know, we only got a couple weeks left in the season. You never know how things are going to go, especially at a track like Langley, which is next. Somebody could get turned, or things could go south there pretty quick, and that could change everything. So you want to make sure you're maximizing every time you're out as many points as you can.
Definitely riding on board with Justin Morton. You see how much wheel he's putting into it, trying to make this race car turn. Ooh, Austin Ball, yep, to the outside fence. Down to the inside he goes, and that is what you need to do. You need to take advantage of every possible opportunity. Justin Morton doing that, giving him a lot of room on corner exit, though. We're coming to 5 laps to go, and Justin needs to try to make this pass here. He wants to get onto the podium. These guys giving each other a lot of room. To be honest, I would be giving less.
Yeah, I would be, if I was a 24, I'd be closer to the door of the 9, and if I was a 9, I'd be using more of that track to get off these corners.
These guys are good friends, so they always
Yes.
give you a good racing room, and you see Justin there almost clear of Austin Boston, showing good perseverance here as there's only 4 laps to go at this point, and Austin's kind of committed here to try to make this work. And if he loses out, he may actually lose a spot to Michael Goodman, although laps are winding down, so if Austin can at least stay to the door of Justin, he might be able to keep fighting here. As still, Austin's going to throw it down into turn 1, still stay side by side. Justin is almost clear as we'll get 2 laps to go next time by, and Michael Goodman's trying to figure out which lane to pick.
Yeah, Austin's doing a good job of battling there on the outside here late in the race, so man, I'm surprised. He must have really done a good job saving his tires to do this.
Yeah, and he's really doing a good job hitting his marks up there, and again, it does help that Justin's giving him some extra racing spaces. We do get the white flag here, 1 lap to go. J.R. Shepard still out in front. Kurt Smith with a fantastic run tonight in 2nd place, and these 2 drivers still side by side down the backstretch one final time. We'll have to follow this battle as we come to the flag, but it's J.R. Shepard around turn 4. He will win at Martinsville. Kurt Smith 2nd, and the drag race to the line. Looks like Justin Morton was able to beat him out and grab that point, and that could be definitive in the championship fight.
Yeah, that was really important for Justin to get that spot, and he did a good job getting it.
As we, real quick here, we'll let the drivers all finish out this race, and J.R. Shepard will celebrate another win at Martinsville. We know that this is a place that means a lot to him, and really all of Bootleg Racing League for the history it possesses. Going to celebrate in turn 2. We will take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we will pay the bills and go through the results and interview some pretty happy race car drivers. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Bootleg Racing League's Super Late Model Series here from Martinsville Speedway. And we'll take a look real quick at the race results tonight as J.R. Shepard comes home with another victory here. As we take a look at the results, J.R. Shepard comes home with a victory. Kurt Smith with a great run in 2nd after starting on pole. Justin Morton rounds out the podium in 3rd place. Can't wait to talk to him in his battle, about his battle with Austin Belke in 4th. Michael Goodman, good top 5 for him in 5th. Donnie Moore comes home in 6th, good recovery for him. Adam Shane comes home in 7th, and next week's pole sitter at Langley will be Todd Liston. 9th place tonight goes to Kevin Moody. 10th place goes to Bruce Pearson. He was the last finisher tonight. 11th goes to Joseph Snyder. 12th is Ruben Altus. 13th is Joe Segala. And 14th in the final spot was Brian Dean, who was involved in that early accident. But we'll go ahead and bring in our first interview of the night. It's J.R. Shepard. J.R., another victory for you tonight, but it didn't really come easy for you. It seemed like you were really biding your time, but it seemed like you also at the same time really wanted to get that lead spot as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a tough race tonight, extremely hard to pass at this track, just with the way the setups were. The cars continued to get tighter through the run too, so you got to try to get it done pretty early if you want a shot at it. And to be honest, probably used up a lot of my stuff trying to make that pass, but it's kind of what you had to do here.
Yeah, for certain. You know, the way I've put it is that it's kind of a race to halfway, because the tires just start to go away and it's hard to make those passes. And you know, as you're sitting behind there, I know from my perspective, if I'm in that position, I'm really thinking, like, I need to make this pass happen, not just because of the tire wear, but because of potential restarts. You know, and speaking of restarts, we had those early cautions. Did that kind of make you think, oh boy, this might be a caution fest?
Yeah, it kind of did. I figured with a smaller field that we were going to get a lot of green flag racing, but usually at Martinsville you get an early caution, and I thought I had a little bit of an advantage starting 5th on the inside, and then as soon as that caution came out, I was on the outside. So just kind of a weird caution, just allowed me to have a little bit of track position with some lap cars in between us. It's kind of weird. iRacing's messed up a little bit with these cautions lately, and sometimes it benefits some guys, and sometimes it hurts some other ones.
Yeah, we noticed that in the booth too. That was a long caution, but it looked like you guys were finally able to kind of sort things out there. But another victory for you, and we know that Martinsville means a lot to you and the Bootleg Racing League, but who would you like to thank for the victory?
Yeah, just thanks to the Bootleg Racing League for giving us a place to race on Friday and Saturday night. So it's an extremely good group of people to race with. A lot of respect here, so great to have that. And thanks to Gargamel's Kitchen for being a great title sponsor for several seasons with us. That means a lot to us, and they've helped us out a ton, so appreciate that. And of course to you guys at Virtual Grip Network for everything that you do with the broadcast, and to my team, Different Path Motorsports. And give a shout out to Kurt for coming home in second. He had a heck of a run tonight.
Thanks for talking with us, JR. Great run tonight, and we will see you next week.
Yep, thank you guys.
That was J.R. Shepard, the winner tonight, and can't wait to talk to this next one. Kurt Smith, second place run for you, buddy. That was a great run for you tonight. How are you feeling after that one?
Thank you. I'm feeling really good. Good to have a good run for once. A little bit wore out, but it was fun.
Yeah, you were really driving hard out there. You kept the lead for a long time, and we all know how difficult it is holding off a driver like J.R. Shepard there. What was it like for that first, half of the race or so with him right behind you, because you know you cannot make a mistake?
It's nerve-wracking when you got somebody that caliber right behind you. I just had to keep trying to look ahead and not look in the mirror because I knew he was back there.
But when you were in control of the pack, as we're seeing on replay right here, you were so good on the restarts. And you were running competitive lap times all night long. What is there something about Martinsville that kind of just suits you?
Normally, no, but I did just make some changes to my pedals and up the short speed back on my wheel just for the race, so it wore me out a little bit more, but it seemed to help a little bit.
Do you think those are changes that you're going to keep into the future?
We're going to try to.
Sounds good. And speaking of the future, the next race is going to be at Langley, which is another flat track, but a shorter than this one. What are your thoughts about that place?
In the past, I wasn't too good there. Last few times, I've been halfway decent. So hopefully I can have a halfway decent run if I can just stay up there with these guys and not fall back like I normally do. It'll be good.
And last thing before we let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to for the second place run?
well, Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring the series. They've been a great partner for the series for a while. Lowell for running the series, and everybody that's competing out there. I mean, it's a great group of guys, and to run with the caliber of guys I was up with tonight was just great. It was a blast.
We had fun watching you out there, Kurt. Good run, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you. You guys have a good week.
That was Kurt Smith, our second place finisher tonight. And lastly, we're going to grab an interview with Justin Morton. Justin, I got to ask you first, that battle there with Austin. We saw Austin made a little mistake and you took advantage, but it wasn't as easy as we maybe thought it was going to be up in the booth. Austin really fought you for a while.
Yeah, he was fighting me pretty hard there. I had damage from that race start incident, so I was tight the entire way. I think that was probably some of it. We were even on tires at the end. He did a great job holding me off on the outside and holding on to that. He didn't lose more than 2 spots from that, so I'd say it's pretty good for him to do that.
Yeah, and take us back to that initial start. What did you see from your perspective? And I guess you never really got a chance to feel what your car felt like at the beginning because we didn't get any laps. But do you think that damage did negatively affect you from the beginning all the way to the end?
Oh, I'm pretty sure these things are pretty aerosensitive, at least on the nose. I've felt it before. It's just the same tightness. It just hits you like a wall, it seems. On the start, everybody took off. I think Joe in front of me, he just missed a shift or something. That happens. But yeah, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. It's racing.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously it'd be a large risk to go into the pits and give up your track position to take that fast repair just for that. I'm sure that was dwelling on you.
Oh yeah, I was definitely thinking if I should go in and take it. But yeah, losing track position at this place really sucks, and I don't really think I had great pace tonight. I like Martinsville, but I always seem to kind of struggle here. But yeah, try to improve for next time.
And lastly, we were looking for the championship. I know you're probably sick of hearing it, but J.R. Shepard gains a few points. He's now completely in the title lead at this point. What do you got to do with these last 2 weeks? And how do you feel about the last 2 tracks that we're going to, being that we're going to Langley and then Myrtle Beach 2 weeks after that? How do you feel going into those last 2 races now that you do have to play a little bit of catch up?
I feel good going into Myrtle Beach. I've beat JR there before. Langley is not one of those places that I like going to. It just kind of struggle there. It's hard to pass, but that's just all the racetracks we got, and we use them all, and it's great because we get to use all the tracks. So I'll do my best there, and hopefully I can at least pull 1 point on him.
Well, you did at least pull 1 point back by making that last pass on Austin Belke to grab the last podium spot here, gain yourself an interview, and give yourself the opportunity to thank. Who'd you like to thank for this run tonight?
Yeah, I like my team, Total Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for the awesome paint, Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring the league, and Lowell for running this great league, and great group of guys that run with us. And thank you guys for doing the broadcast. You do a fantastic job.
Thanks for talking to us, Justin. Good run tonight. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Lastly, that was Justin Morton, our final interview for tonight. But quickly, final thoughts, John. A race that started out with a little bit of attrition, then spread out, and the way things change, the more they stay the same as the 98 car comes home the victor.
Yeah, but like you said though, there we got 2 races left. A lot of things can happen here. Langley is a track where where for sure a lot of things can happen. A lot of things out of your control can happen there. So remember, JR is going to have to hit that invert and go back to about 8th, or at least not up towards the front. So not an easy track to have to work your way around. So that's going to give next race. Keep in mind with that invert. Justin Morton's going to start in front of JR in that race, so anything can happen.
Definitely, anything can and will happen in that race, in the last races of the season. But BRL's Super Late Model Series is brought to you by Gargamel's Kitchen. Gargamel's Kitchen is a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League. visit their office at 2045 South Valencia Street or give them a call at 720-707-6178. The next Super Late Model Series broadcast for BRL will be Saturday, August 27th from Langley Speedway, live at 9 p.m. Eastern. And the next VGN broadcast will be August 23rd at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. That's the PGRL's premiere series, live from Watkins Glen. So that should be an interesting one. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network. I have been your host tonight, Kenny Kibbe. Alongside me was John Hine and Trevor Greenfield in the booth directing for us tonight. Thanks everybody for watching. Tune in next week. It should be a barn burner. We'll see y'all later.